Hello, learners. I have come to you today to discuss the subject matter or the summary of this novel, A Passage to India, written by EM Forster. In the last class, I have given you the introduction to you, the major characters from the British side and the native Indian side. Today, I'd like to start the summary or the subject matter of this novel. I'd like to start the summary from Dr. Aziz visiting to the bungalow of Civil Surgeon Calendar, who was the Civil Surgeon of Chandrapur Government Hospital. And he had to face a very ignoble behavior in the bungalow of Civil Surgeon Calendar. And that is why mentally he was disturbed. And in order to get the mental pleasure and relief, he had gone to the local mosque of Chandrapur, where he met a very sweet lady, English lady, and it was a very nice meeting because Dr. Aziz had got a certain kind of very, very amiable behavior from that English lady, and he was the mother of Ronnie Hasdorf, the city magistrate of Chandrapur. And another thing was waiting for him, which was very much pleasant, that Professor Fielding, the principal of Chandrapur Government College, had invited Dr. Aziz in his bungalow next day because he had also invited two English ladies, and this party was offered by Professor Fielding for the honor of the two English ladies. And Dr. Aziz, with a very, very pleasant mind, attended this meeting next day. And it was a very nice discussion among the guests there. And the discussion was going on about literature, art, and politics. And in the midst of discussion, Dr. Aziz was talking to Adela Quested, and Mrs. Poe was taken by Professor Fielding out just to see and visit the college campus of Chandrapur Government College campus. By this time, the discussion was going on and continued between Dr. Aziz and Adela Quested. And during the discussion, Ronnie Hasdorf came to the bungalow of Professor Fielding, and he found that his proposed wife, Adela Quested, was absorbed in talking with an Indian doctor, which he did not support at all. And not only that, he was quite dissatisfied. When Professor Fielding arrived in his bungalow, Ronnie Hasdorf reprimanded him for leaving an English lady to the custody of an Indian. And this sort of indication of behavior exactly is for the clear indication of the British behavior to the native people. And not only that, the story is not ended here. There was a conversation which was something hot one between Professor Fielding and Ronnie Hasdorf. During the discussion, there was a proposal came from Dr. Aziz that for the honor of the two English ladies, Mrs. Poe and Adela Quested, Dr. Aziz wanted to arrange a picnic, and the spot was selected, and it was Mohammadpur Caves, which was 21 kilometers distance from the town of Chandrapur. The time was selected. Next morning, the expedition will started from Chandrapur to Mohammadpur Caves. But unfortunately, next morning, Dr. Aziz, Mrs. Poe and Adela Quested had been able to arrive at the station to avail the train in time. But it was Professor Fielding and Godball who failed the train because of the delay was committed by Professor Godball in morning prayer. And Dr. Aziz was quite disappointed to see that Professor Fielding failed to get the train. But whatever might be, it was not exactly in the hand of Dr. Aziz. Aziz, Mrs. Poe, and Adela Quested, and one of the girls with them had gone to Mohammadpur Caves, and accordingly they entered into the cave. As you told earlier, the Mohammadpur Caves had a particular distinction. The distinction is that if somebody creates a sound, it creates a certain kind of echo. The wall of the caves creates a certain kind of echo, and this echo creates a certain kind of claustrophobia, and this claustrophobia originates a kind of hallucination. And it was so happened that since Mrs. Moore was an old lady, she was first affected by this sort of hallucination. And after a few moments, she started feeling a certain kind of suffocation, and she started rushing out to the caves. And when he went out, he started taking a rest outside, sitting in a chair. But Dr. Aziz and Adila Quested started watching the case. By this time, Dr. Aziz left Adila Quested because he had entered another case for smoking. Dr. Aziz had a habit of smoking because he had been suffering from loneliness for the disappearance, for the death of his wife. And Adila Quested was watching the case in different sections, but the situation was not in favorable. By this time, an echo was being created by the sound of somebody else, and Adila Quested was affected by a strong hallucination. And because of being affected by strong hallucination, he had lost mental strength. Adila Quested was watching alone the case, but by this time, another sound was created, which created a certain kind of strong hallucination, affecting the mind of Adila Quested, and she lost the state of her mind. She started rushing out of the cave, and the situation was totally out of the control of Dr. Aziz. Dr. Aziz came, and he did not find Adila Quested. When she was found, she was lying in a broken glass field, in a very devastating condition. By this time, a rumor has been circulated that an Indian had abused, and the rumor by this time had reached in the town of Chandrapur. And Chandrapur is a small town. It was circulated very promptly, almost in the minds of every people. But the thing is that Adila Quested was taken by the car of an English lady, Miss Derricks. Miss Derricks had taken Adila Quested to the city of Chandrapur. When the whole team arrived in this town of Chandrapur, a case had already been filed. A serious criminal charge was leveled against Dr. Aziz. Aziz tried to escape the arrest, but Professor Fielding prevented him from escaping because Fielding was confirmed and determined that Aziz was quite innocent. He must be exempted from the discretion of the court lately. And Aziz accepted the proposal of Professor Fielding. After a few days, Dr. Aziz was produced before the court. As I told you earlier, that a famous barrister Amrit Rao, was hired for Dr. Aziz from Calcutta. Amrit Rao started argument in the court and he made an inflammatory speech in favor of Dr. Aziz. And ultimately, the judge asked Adila Quested, while Adila was present in the court, whether Aziz was guilty or innocent. Adila Quested by this time had taken his mind control, and she made a very, very confessional statement that Dr. Aziz was quite innocent. And not only that, by this time, outside of the court, there was a strong demonstration was going on. It was participated by the Hindus and Muslims together, demanding the exemption of Dr. Aziz from the false church. And picture was very clear that the British people living in Chandrapur stood beside Adila Quested, but the native people stood beside Dr. Aziz. There was a clear division between the native people and the British people. Turton, the collector, started counseling everybody that every English people should have a very careful and cautious behavior exactly to tackle this situation. And we have to take in mind one thing, that the Quit India movement was going on during the time India for the first time saw there was a united movement between the two major political parties like Indian National Congress and Muslim League. And Muslim League and Congress started making a movement very strongly to see the acquittal of the British imperial power from India. And for the first time, the British Raj faced a very serious challenge because of the combined movement by the two major political parties of India, like Indian National Congress and Muslim League. Dr. Aziz was exempted from the church. He became a hero overnight. A victory demonstration was opened in the town, and Dr. Aziz was in the forefront of the procession. Very interesting matter happened. Since Adila Quested supported and giving confessional statement that Dr. Aziz was innocent. All English people living in Chandrapur left her. And not only that, Ronnie has loved, disowned her utterly, and she became alone. She does not have any residence in the town of Chandrapur to pass a single night. And it was Professor Fielding who came forward to help him, and Fielding took her in his own bungalow. And Adela Quested stayed there for a few days. But the rumor was circulated among the people of Chandrapur that there was a relation developed between Dr. Aziz and Adela Quested. And when this news exactly came to Dr. Aziz, he was very much shocked, because Dr. Aziz started treating Adela Quested as his enemy. And not only that, he took a decision and he was to exactly stand against the British Raj. And when, after a few days, Professor Fielding met Dr. Aziz, he clearly declared that his position now was totally against the British regime. But the story is ended here. But another two competitions exactly adapted by EM Forster in this novel. One is the horse race competition and another is the boat race competition. The horse race competition is very important, which is taken place by Dr. Aziz and by Professor Fielding. Both of them participated in the horse race, but in the end of the horse race, it was clearly found the two horses at the ending point of the race were found divided, and Dr. Aziz, sitting in the back of the horse, started shouting that the British and the Indians cannot be friends because there is a wide gap between the two nations, between the two communities. The gap in language, the gap in culture, the gap in history, the gap in heritage, and above all, the gap particularly between the two communities in religion. So they cannot be friends together. And so long the British should be continued staying in the territory of India, friendship between the British and Indian must not be possible at all. And it is the institution of Dr. Aziz. The story is ended here. I'd like to draw the conclusion of this novel here today. And definitely the novel does not have any happy ending. It is neither a tragedy nor a comedy. It is something which is reality of the relation between the two communities, like the Indians and the British people. Today, I'd like to tell something about the present situation, as I am saying in every session of my delivery. The COVID-19 is still going on. We are not in a position to move freely, and even then we are committed exactly to maintain the process of a dispensing, to making the relation of education, relation of learning between the learners and the teachers. Our energetic Principal Syed Zafar Ali, he is taking every step exactly to continue this process so that our learners can be benefited. Kendriya College, I think that is playing a very strong role by the commitment and determination of each and every teacher to face COVID-19 and to continue the smooth learning process and to maintain relations between the teachers and the learners. Eid al-Azha is knocking at the door. So it is Eid Mubarak, and we are waiting for a very, very hopeful days in the coming time. And till then, Allah Hafiz, stay safe.